Yo, guys, we're looking at Kaspa, and of course, the meme coins doing crazy, doing really good, these triple bottoms across its top meme coins. Incredible to see Kaspa breaking out like a full-fledged breakout. The dollar not doing so hot as pretty much expected, and with so much room to fall. Oh my God, it's gonna collapse. And we've also here. Let me go into a little more detail with the bonds, and the bonds are interesting, are like really interesting, and it's hard to really, you know to give like a really full-fledged answer on what's up with the bonds, because it's very interesting. Now, the bond, this represents the yield that you buy the bond, and you're gonna earn like whatever it's at. You buy it at this price, you're gonna have 4% for the 10 years or whatever amount remaining for the bond that you purchased. But 10 years basically, 10 years for the interest rate that it's at. Um, Now essentially rises in price, okay? But who controls the rise? It's both like not only a demand from the people wanting to invest in the US dollar, but it's also from the Federal Reserve. So the Federal Reserve can manipulate the price of its bonds as it wishes. So when we see the Feds cutting rates, they are manipulating the price of the bond prices. So to cut rates, it needs to lower the price. So in doing so, it essentially sells these bonds. It needs to sell these bonds, to sell them at uh, to for other like investors, and it's a very complicated how it can manipulate such prices and how it has access to such liquidity and capital working with. I mean, it's the Federal Reserve. They have so much money. They are the control of the entire money. So with interest rates falling, that's typically a very bullish signal for the traditional markets, with even the stock market, with even crypto market. But when we look at interest rates, it's not just about if they fall or if they rise. So if it does fall, it's very bullish. Okay, that's a good thing, great thing to see for the traditional markets. Now, if they rise, if the interest rate ends up rising, which it doesn't look like it's going to, based on its technical indicator, especially with the Trump administration doing some crazy things, they Trump wants the rates to fall, so it's most likely going to fall based on all those factors. But if they somehow rise, somehow, for some reason, if they're forced to or for whatever, that is going to be even more bullish for crypto, which is safe from inflation. It's a hedge to um, not only tariffs but inflation as well. Changes with the fiat currency, putting rates as they want. So basically, with this sort of inflation, you see the dollar will lose half of its value in about a 20, 15-year time frame, 15, 25-year time frame. I mean, that's insane. You hold dollars under your mattress, and then boom, and like, so it's like basically you work for, say you work for 20 years of your life, and then boom, just because of inflation, the government essentially steals half of that, half of the years. You say you've worked for 50 years. I mean, the government steals not only half, but quadruple. Like, you lose not half of the half of everything you've worked for, because all that that money is washed away from inflation. So with these bonds, if it goes up, it's perfect for the dollar. Sorry, for the crypto. And if it goes up, it's going to hurt traditional markets like the stock market. Okay, so the stock market can absolutely crash if the inflation rises. Yet, crypto is going to be rising if inflation rises as well, because it's safe haven from, not because when the Feds increase inflation, there's a problem. Okay, they're increasing inflation because they really need this money. They really need investors to put their money into these bonds to give the dollar power. Okay, but imagine this, which is the current world we're in right now. This current situation, that people don't want to be using the dollar. China is in a huge trade war with the U.S. Reliance on the dollar is decreasing, not just with China, but across the world. So Trump is making enemies across the world. People are kind of hating on the U.S. and even just their closest people, like with Canada. And that's just a new example. So reliance on the dollar is falling, and when that happens, even if the Feds pump up the bond yield, like they still need people to purchase it. They still need um, people to feel secure and safe in the dollar. If the dollar loses its dominance, yet like inflation rises or um, uh, the government is still really trying to push investments into the dollar and it doesn't come, it's just like total collapse. It's once you have like a dollar dominated economy that moves away from the dollar. It's just the Feds are they're losing tricks up their sleeve. Okay, and with the government becoming much more crypto oriented, it's not just with it's like the whole entire like the SEC. Trump recently brought in pro Bitcoin Paul Atkins, sworn in as new SEC chair. So, and it says his top priority is to provide a firm regulatory foundation for digital assets. This is extremely bullish. And you see, I mean, this happened, what was it, like yesterday, 2 days ago? The stock market, 1.5 trillion wiped out, 60 billion added to the crypto market. Again, when you see uncertainty, this is the split that we love to see. That Bitcoin is splitting off from emerging technology that is risky and high growth potential. Yeah, it is high growth potential, but it is a safe haven from crazy disruptive markets with uncertainty with the dollar, essentially. Uncertainty with US dominance. So crypto is global. It is it's not based on success of the dollar or the success of the US. So we're seeing the dollar losing its dominance, crypto gaining dominance, and there's nothing really that can stop this trend from full fledged breaking out. So the next decade is going to be very likely a mega bull cycle for crypto, and that's how I picture it happening. Like I might be more optimistic than some, but that's why I don't think that you really should be in a mindset like, okay, I'm going to sell at the peak of this coming cycle. You sell, and then what if this little peak of yours isn't what you expect it to be? What if your little peak is something like this? It drops down 15%, like Bitcoin drops down 15%, 20% or whatever it is, and then boom, it bounces back up to new all-time highs. What is that? Basically in the next year or two after that. Like, so people that are really like, oh, I'm gonna buy and then I'm gonna sell the top. You're selling at the top, but you're forgetting where this macro shift, what's happening with this macro shift. It's the end of dollar dominance in with crypto dominance. The gold has been exceeding, like, absolutely dominating, and finally it's having a little bit of a pullback. Now this pullback is we'll see how much it pulls back, but basically gold has been doing exceedingly well. Why? Because of uncertainty with the dollar, uncertainty with even the stock market being all-time highs, with credit and debt just being at all-time highs. Like, even stocks are trading at like how many times of their earnings, like something crazy, like 20 times, 10 times their actual earnings value. So when things are so much leveraged in the traditional markets with a dollar backed by the dollar, we're going to see the reliance shift, a macro shift that can last an entire decade. And that's going to put crypto, it's going to put Kaspa in just a whole new light. It's going to be an era of Kaspa. Sure, Bitcoin's going to succeed and do very well, but Kaspa is going to come to light and it's going to be able to compete with Ethereum itself. Ethereum is trying to implement this whole risk V, to get rid of the EVM and make it more scalable. But like the scalability enhancement, you're trying to increase something with, like, it's basically in a way similar to how Kaspa went to Rust, how it's now using Rust under for its whole like framework. and Rust is much more scalable. It's much faster basically, and this risk V is going to be much faster than the EVM, Ethereum virtual machine. But the problem is, it's like it still doesn't fix Ethereum. Like Ethereum, and even this huge protocol change, like upgrading and changing its whole architecture, like it's gonna take like I don't know how many years. I forget. It was like until 2030, like 5 years to like see it fully implemented, or even just like half implemented. I don't know, but even this huge change, it's estimated that it's still gonna take like 90 seconds for a transaction to confirm. So it's like it's still not nothing on the same spectrum of Kaspa's 100 millisecond speed for transaction confirmations, for transaction finality. 100 milliseconds, okay? And that's with this Crescendo upgrade. With Dagnite, it'll reach down to 10 milliseconds, as fast as the internet can be. 10 milliseconds. And when internet upgrades, with new Starlink, satellites, or whatever else comes out in the future, internet speeds go down to 5 milliseconds, 1 millisecond, crazy things like that. We're going to see Kaspa be able to keep up with this advancement of technology and still remain the number one scalable solution, the fastest settlement layer in history. Visa and MasterCard, they're at the end of their line. Like their days are counted. Their days are limited. They're going to be implementing, and it's very interesting. Visa is keeping a close eye on crypto tech. Like Visa, a recent partnership with Visa and Tangem. Now that's kind of crazy. And you also know that Tangem is like a huge, huge backer, huge, I guess, investor in Kaspa technology. Tangem was the first cold wallet to integrate Kaspa into its as a cold wallet. The first to integrate KRC20 into its cold wallet, to any cold wallet. So Tangem is the first to integrate Kaspa's tech. And then you see Visa very interested in Tangem. I mean, I'm just saying, like that'll be crazy. That'll be crazy. Imagining it's either Visa integrates Kaspa technology, whether through Tangem or not. It integrates Kaspa technology or it gets left behind. So we're going to be seeing massive institutions doing everything they possibly can to acquire Kaspa. And it's going to be part of their own security budget to validate transactions using their own Kaspa nodes and even mine their own blocks using their own Kaspa miners. Shai went into uploaded a video recently with a small introduction of this topic, how Kaspa, how many 10 BPS and 10 BPS plus, how the whole ecosystem really benefits and decentralizes mining in a very, very healthy way. So very interesting topics. Okay, so that covers basically with the dollar again, with respect to Kaspa and the complexity of the bond market and how the feds truly do manipulate it as they wish. And unfortunately, they can't change the fact of whether they can't force people to use the dollar anymore. Like even the UAE, like with Dubai, their contracts with that essentially force them to use the dollar for oil, trading the oil. That expired. It's like more and more countries are getting off of the dollar. So we're seeing definitely a macro shift with the currency of the world. Bitcoin taking all-time high. Sorry, gold taking all-time high. Bitcoin following. Now this is going to be an explosive run. It's going to have to retest this high, but I absolutely do believe it's going to see a run very similar to a Bitcoin. A run similar to this. So it retests this all-time high. You can retest it not just once, twice, but 3 times retesting. And this is a similar type of style we saw with Kaspa in its early days. When it was at this 5-cent mark, it tested like this 5-cent mark like once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times, and then exploded. And we see that with gold here. Definitely believe that's going to happen again with Bitcoin. I mean, retest it once, twice. So it can happen 3, 4, 5 times. So that 2026 can very well be an incredible year. Yeah, people thinking, asking, hey, is this bull cycle going to be, Kaspa can reach 10 cents or $10 and all this crazy stuff? Like, you just really have to look bigger picture. Like, if you're thinking it's going to all happen in 2025, sure, crazy things can absolutely happen in 2025, but you have to look bigger picture. It's going to take time for Kaspa to reach its full potential. Like, it's going to take years. It's going to require like a decade to reach its full potential. And we look at even like the stock market. Look what happened with the stock market. It needed a whole decade to grow like immensely. The top 500 companies with this ETF. Like, so you're gonna need to wait a decade if you really want to see full potential. Yeah, of course you could. If you have a massive Caspa bag, you don't need to wait a whole decade to feel comfortable cashing out to buy a new house, a new car, whatever you want. But if you want to see its full potential, it's like multi-trillion-dollar value. I think you're gonna have to wait at least 10 years, up to 20.